blinding sun, icing, or a fatal maintenance error. Today, in this video, we'll examine 11 aviation incidents where the line between rescue and disaster was as thin as a hair's breadth. You'll learn why an experienced Spitfire pilot didn't notice the landing gear wasn't deployed, how an illegal flight in Taiwan nearly ended in tragedy, and what to do if your windshield is suddenly drenched in oil at an altitude of several hundred meters. Each of these cases is a lesson written in the sky. We'll analyze the investigators' reports to understand how to survive in situations where technology fails. Let's get started. On June 16, 2017, at Sywell Aerodrome, Northamptonshire, England, a two-seat Spitfire was damaged in a gear-up landing after touchdown, but both the pilot and the passenger were uninjured. The UKAAIB reported that the landing gear system later tested normally, and the pilot attributed the accident to sunlight on the gear indication panel, which created the false impression that the gear was down and locked. The lesson from this case is that cockpit indications can be misread in bright conditions, so landing checks should include positive confirmation of gear status rather than relying on one visual cue alone.
Oh, he's crashed it.
On February 20th, 2016, near Taichung, Taiwan, an ICP Super Bingo ultralight made a forced landing on a dry riverbed about 21 kilometers south of Taichung Airport and overturned on impact. Both people on board survived and left the site on their own after the crash. Taiwan's investigation found that the engine was not producing power at impact, while the flight itself was being conducted illegally outside permitted ultralight airspace and outside an approved operating area. The lesson from this case is that even a survivable emergency can become far more dangerous when aircraft are flown without legal oversight, approved operating bases, and proper regulatory control.
我们找个平一点的把车停着来，我们再研究吧。要靠你的经验了。现在打算要迫降哈，现在找到地方迫降。 这一块吧，这边那一块哈，好，陆教官，看你的了。All right. Okay, 你好棒 You saved my fucking life.
God damn it! Come on.
It's alright, it's alright, it's alright. We're alive. We're alive. We're fucking alive. Everything else is okay. Everything else is okay. We're fucking alive.
碰到石头，他妈！
在我们两个一辈子分不开了。我跟你一起摔飞机，我操，好屌！其实我他妈的快吓死了，你知道吧？
我跟Jones讲说，这一觉就不太愿意飞长途，还没到。
没关系，没关系。It's okay. It's okay. Shit happens.
哎呦，还好嘞。那怎么把飞机拖回去？我操！
On April 19, 2009, a best-off SkyRanger made an emergency landing on Havendale Boulevard in Winter Haven, Florida, after losing engine power shortly after takeoff. The pilot brought the aircraft down on the road without hitting traffic, and both people on board survived without injury. Available public reporting points to an engine failure or loss of engine power, but I could not confirm a published final technical cause from a public official report. The lesson here is that when an engine failure happens at low altitude, early commitment to the safest reachable landing area and calm control of the aircraft can be the difference between a crash and a survivable emergency landing.
Watch swing.
On December 4th, 2015, at Palm Springs International Airport, California, a British aerospace BAE 125-800SP made a controlled gear-up emergency landing after the crew reported a landing gear or undercarriage problem. The jet slid on its belly along the runway and came to rest safely, and no injuries were reported to those on board. Publicly available reporting identifies the event as a landing gear or undercarriage malfunction, but I could not verify a released public final technical cause from an official investigation, and open sources even differ on the degree of damage after the landing. The lesson from this case is that a well-managed, prepared belly landing with good crew coordination and aircraft control maintained to the end can turn a serious mechanical emergency into a survivable outcome. On April 10, 2010, near Bothell, Cumbria, a Yak 50 on a local flight from Carlisle Airport suffered an engine failure after a loss of oil pressure and was forced to land in a field. Oil partially covered the windscreen during the emergency. The aircraft was substantially damaged, and the pilot survived with minor injuries. The AAIB reported that the oil pressure adjustment valve was missing from the oil scavenge pump housing and showed no evidence of the expected wire locking after recent maintenance and an earlier oil leak in the same area, which points to oil loss as the reason the engine failed. The lesson from this case is that even a small post-maintenance oil leak must be treated as a serious warning sign, because an unresolved lubrication problem can quickly turn into a forced landing.
Carlisle from India Oscar, that's cool. I don't think what it was. You were just green Orton, or Orton, he said. Yes, we'll copy that. There's another aircraft out there looking for him.
On September 9, 2014, during a qualifying run at the Reno National Championship Air Races in Nevada, the highly modified P-51XR Precious Metal suffered an engine shutdown, and pilot Tom Richard made a successful dead-stick emergency landing after feathering its contra-rotating propellers. Race Week technical reporting said the failure was linked to the new electronic fuel injection control, which likely leaned the mixture to cutoff at high speed, and the aircraft was returned to service in time for Thursday's Bronze Heat. The lesson from this case is that extreme performance modifications can create new failure points, so systems knowledge, rapid diagnosis, and practiced emergency handling remain critical, even in top-level air racing. On August 10th, 2013, near Killeen, Texas, a Brian Douglas BA-100 suffered a partial loss of engine power shortly after departing Skylark Field, and the pilot carried out a forced landing in a wooded area. The pilot, who was alone on board, was not injured, but the airplane was substantially damaged when it went into trees. The investigation found no fuel contamination and no ignition system failure, but the spark plugs showed heavy carbon fouling and sooting, and the probable cause was attributed to improper fuel mixture management that created an over-rich condition and led to the power loss. The lesson from this case is that even a short local departure demands correct engine setup, and pilots need a clear, low-altitude engine failure plan before takeoff.
Camera. Oh, cool. Hey, it's still recording. Hi, everybody. You survived a plane crash. Oh, man. You're on camera.
On February 2nd, 2013, near Wellsville, Utah, a Cessna 175B Skylark made a forced landing in a snow-covered field after a partial loss of engine power shortly after departing Logan. During the landing roll, the airplane nosed over, but all 5 people on board survived without injury. The NTSB determined that the power loss was caused by carburetor ice, with weather conditions at the time considered conducive to icing at glide and cruise power. The lesson from this case is that carburetor icing can develop quickly, even in seemingly routine conditions. So early recognition, immediate carb heat use, and always keeping a forced landing option in mind remain essential.
I didn't expect that.
I had him. Okay, Catherine. You got your seatbelt? Okay, well, we have just survived a crash landing. And I'm still recording. I'm really, really sorry about this.
I'm sorry. I feel bad too. Boy.
It's I'm really sorry about your plane. Are you okay?
No. Yeah.
Call Bell, please?
Yes. Absolutely. Kara, are you okay?
Yeah.
You gonna ever fly again?
Yeah.
I knew that we'd be fine.
Jonathan.
I didn't expect that. Okay.
No. I've been.
All right.
On November 28, 2013, near Trussville, Alabama, a Beech V-35 made a forced landing in a field after a total loss of engine power while on approach to Birmingham International Airport. The pilot and 2 passengers received minor injuries, and the aircraft was substantially damaged during the landing. The NTSB determined that the engine failed because the number 2 connecting rod separated due to oil starvation, which led to the total loss of power. The lesson from this case is that internal engine lubrication problems can become catastrophic without warning, so disciplined maintenance oversight and immediate forced landing decision-making remain critical when power is lost in the descent. This video was published on YouTube on November 17th, 2012. It shows a tandem-powered paraglider making a forced landing on a road after an apparent engine failure. After touchdown, the aircraft ran off the road into bushes, but both people on board survived and were not reported injured. The lesson from this case is that even during a sudden low-altitude power loss, staying calm, keeping control, and committing early to the safest available landing area can prevent a fatal plane crash.
You're okay. You're okay. Kathy, you're okay, right? Kathy, you're okay, baby. Son of a bitch.
On September 13th, 2016, at Wamena Airport, Papua, Indonesia, a Trigana Air Boeing 737-300 freighter suffered a very hard landing on runway 15 during approach. Both main landing gear collapsed. The aircraft slid on the nose gear, belly, and engines and veered off the runway. All 3 people on board survived. The investigation found that the crew continued an unstabilized visual approach in weather below the operator's cloud base and visibility minima, and the captain rejected a delayed go-around suggestion from the first officer before the hard touchdown. The lesson from this case is that once an approach is unstable or below minima, the safest decision is to go around immediately rather than trying to salvage the landing.